Today I want to talk about secrecy, integrity, and accountability. The reverse correlation between secrecy and integrity and accountability. In the news media, I keep hearing the word secrecy being used pertaining to the internet. Secrecy in the form of a desire by netizens to have their secrets kept private. So it's also being used as a form of privacy on the internet, an issue of privacy on the internet. Secrecy in all its forms, as Kennedy said, is repugnant. Well, he didn't quite say that, I added to it. But why? Why is secrecy repugnant? Why is secrecy disgusting? I guess it's because deep down inside, we all understand that the secrets we keep are also the fear we keep. And in keeping secrets, the more secrets we have, the less integrity there is going to be. And when there is no integrity, of course there is no accountability. Vice versa, when there is no accountability, there's not going to be any integrity. So it's like a vicious cycle that we've been going through, and we can see this when looking at the state of the internet. The internet is like the externalized collective consciousness of human beings. So it's an excellent opportunity for us to see what's going on, to map it out. I mean, imagine that we can map out the source of every bit of information on the internet, connect that to the abuse that is taking place, and then we follow that map back to the source of that abuse. But not only the source of that abuse, we follow it back to that which propagates that abuse. And wow, we'll find out that everything from pornography, fraud, wow, everything that you can imagine that you consider abuse on the internet, what we would find out would probably surprise most people in terms of being able to pinpoint the source of all abuse and then map it out backwards and forwards, to and from, to all the points that enable that abuse, propagate that abuse. So what's stopping us from doing that? What's stopping us from realizing what's taking place on the internet? Seeing an externalized map of the collective consciousness of human beings. What's stopping us from doing that right now is secrecy. And it comes in many forms of information: privacy, anonymity, unaccountability are all one and the same, basically. Secrecy. And it is that privacy, unaccountability, anonymity that is used by the abusers, from the small to the big, to perpetrate the abuse. We're all responsible for the abuse. We just don't understand why. Most people just don't understand why, because we aren't seeing the big picture. However, if we were able to ID, let's say, every single bit of information in and as the internet, as the collective consciousness or global mind of human beings, we would then have a map that would enable us to realize the roles we are playing in accepting and allowing that abuse to continue. So the point here today that I'd like to make is for people to start realizing that the reason there is abuse on the internet, information abuse everywhere, is because of secrecy. Where there is secrecy, there will be a lack of integrity. Where there is a lack of integrity, obviously there will be a lack of accountability. Where there is a lack of accountability, there will be abuse. And it's a cycle. The same thing goes. Where there is unaccountability in today's environment on Earth, there will be no or a lack of integrity. And where there is a lack of integrity, there will be abuse. And abuse within as the internet, all forms of information abuse, really just come down to us within and as our acceptances and allowances of that abuse. We as the people, have the ability to stop the abuse. It starts in the small and extends to the big. So from the peeping Tom hacker down the street to the largest spy agencies in the world, we're responsible for that abuse, because what we accept and allow in the small of ourselves will also be found in the large collective consciousness, global mind, internet of ourselves. To stop this abuse is to have integrity, which is to have accountability. Where we have one, we will have the other. Where there is accountability, there will be a form of monitored integrity, so to speak, self-imposed or collectively imposed integrity. Where there is integrity, regardless of how it comes about, there will be accountability. Since it is unlikely that there's going to be suddenly a mass awakening of human beings to suddenly realize that lack of integrity is leading to secrecy, which is leading to unaccountability, which is leading to abuse, is the cause of so many, if not all, of our problems in this world. Thus, a solution is to establish information accountability, absolute information accountability, 100%, as near as we can get to it, within and as the external, the large, the global consciousness, the internet, the collective mind of human beings. Establish accountability on that scale. And I won't go into detail on how that's done. Obviously, it's going to be very technical. But let's just say that every single byte of information comes with a source ID. And from that source ID, this byte of information goes there. This person sees it, perhaps adds to it, then it goes there and expands out. And the technology that for example, Google is developing right now, will enable us to do just that, map out the global mind of human beings from the sources as us to everything. This is it's a phenomenal opportunity for us to see how things from the small to the big actually create our world, the external manifestation of the world system, everything that human beings interact with. We are able to map it out, or will be able to in the near future with current technological advances. So what I propose we do is embrace accountability. It's coming to us one way or another. Embrace accountability from the small as the people stand up and take responsibility for all the information we put out into the collective consciousness. That which we keep secret in our minds, that's another issue in a sense. But that which we put out into the public domain of the internet, we should be, are, and will be held accountable regardless of how we might imagine that our secrets are safe and sound. They're not. There really is no privacy, secrecy that we imagine in and as the collective domain of the internet. It's public domain. How could there be? Why should we expect there to be? So I propose that we as human beings embrace accountability, starting with the simple things of using our real names, IDs, whatever it takes, on the internet. Don't be fooled into thinking just because your browser, internet, says private browsing that it's private. It's not. Nothing's private on the internet. It's public domain. Why should it be? How could it be? Are you going to take your clothes off and walk down the street, public street, and demand privacy? Probably not. So I propose that we as human beings embrace accountability. And with that accountability, as more and more of us stand up and say, okay, this is who I am, this is my information, I take responsibility for it, we will also nurture integrity, a kind of self-imposed, self-enforced, and also collectively imposed and collectively enforced accountability. Now, there are additional issues in terms of how to have accountability, and I'll go over them very quickly. First of all, we the people have to do it first. The NSA is not going to do it. The spy agencies aren't going to do it first. Information is now a weapon, and it's like the people are we're holding our weapons of perceived secrecy, pointing them at the world, at the spy agencies, at the corporations, and they're doing the same thing to us. Here's the question of who's going to let down, lower their weapons first and say, okay, here I am, I'm unarmed, and this is the way I'm going to stand. We the people have to do it. Alternatively, look what's happening in parts of the world in terms of the corporations, the spy agencies saying, okay, we're going to impose accountability on the people. The problem with that is that it will not work in the long run unless they themselves, the spy agencies, governments, corporations, do impose the same upon themselves as they are upon the people. Because it's all about stopping the abuse through accountability, which will foster, nurture integrity. Without it being 100%, the question is, who's watching the enforcers? Who's enforcing accountability upon the enforcers? So if it's enforced from a top-down scenario, what will happen is the abuse will remain the same. It will just congregate all at the top, at the higher levels of control. So accountability is going to become a more prominent issue for the people. The choice is ours, whether we stand up and embrace it ourselves and demand governments, spy agencies, corporations do the same through example, by example, or we have it imposed on us. That's the point I want to make. We have the opportunity to start seeing the potential of the internet, but we have to stand up and become accountable first. And through this accountability, we'll see integrity will be nurtured. Thank you.